Welcome to the CROC Podcast.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Here is your host, Dr. E.
Howdy, CROC Nation. Dr. Tommy Iannelli here with you with another CROC podcast. Joining me, as always, my valet, my best bud, my partner in crime, Mr. Angel Santana. Have faith, let it begin. Angel, how are you, my friend?
We are ready to rock and roll with another episode of the CROC Podcast, and I am hoping that each and every one of you in the CROC Nation has taken the time to subscribe, to share, to like, because Dr. E is back, and he is ready to take us to another level. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. I'm actually a great segue. I'm looking forward to a 3-day weekend to take a break from the labor and enjoy Labor Day. And as a matter of fact, not to get too corny, but that is exactly what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about celebrating our survivor thrivers who are in the workforce. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. We've done a podcast very similar, but what we're going to do today is we're sort of going to pirate. We're going to do a redo. Like if they've done Mad Max, multiple times, we're going to do Mad E and Mad Angel multiple times. And we're going to do sort of a repeat podcast, but again, to celebrate our survivor thrivers who are in the workforce. So Angel, we were just kind of joking around while we were beginning to record this podcast about feeling tired, a long day at work and that type of thing. So here's what I want you to remember or imagine. I want everybody to kind of follow me down this visualization. Because I know it's true of me, and I guarantee it's true of many of you. So you get up early, you go to work, and you work a full day. And whether you're a laborer who actually uses their physicality, or whether you're using your mind, whether your job is high stress, low stress, whatever stress it is, by the end of your workday, you walk in the door and you're basically just a shell. I know that I am. You walk in and you're extraordinarily tired, and your loved ones try to get a little bit of juice out of you, and there's really nothing left. You've given all your juice to your job, and you throw down something down your throat. You make a few platitudes, maybe you watch a little mindless TV, and then you go to sleep probably before 9 p.m. Does that sound somewhat familiar?
Yeah, without a doubt. That's the story of my life.
There you go. And plus, you don't forget, you have daddyhood part of that as well. But actually, that's part of it as well. Some of our survivors who work and are also parents. But now let's kind of change the scope on this discussion and this visualization. Let's now do the same scenario, getting up early, going to work, giving everything you have to your day at work, coming home exhausted, not having anything left. But instead of just being a healthy person going to work, you're a survivor. You are having treatments for your head and neck cancer. Your mouth is on fire. You can't taste anything. You can't swallow. You're losing weight. You're losing muscle. All of your secretions are choking you, and everything tastes like cardboard. Imagine how challenging that scenario is, and that is actually what we're going to be talking about tonight. Labor Day, Survivor Thrivers. This is a podcast to celebrate you. So we're going to talk a little bit about working during your cancer treatments. We're going to talk a little bit about some of your rights in the workplace, and we're going to give you some strategies, because we never identify problems without coming up with answers. Angel, your thoughts before I get into it?
No, I think it's interesting. I think that a lot of people can relate to this, so I'm ready to rock and roll with it.
Yeah, so some people clearly, can work through their cancer treatments, and there are no brainers. I mean, listen, this is not a podcast to try to judge someone's cancer being less problematic than another's or side effects being less, but the truth is the truth. And there are some patients that may be thyroid cancer patients or early breast cancer patients, prostate cancer patients that might be able to have a little bit more to give and to be able to go work their regular jobs without maybe even anyone knowing. And for them, I say hats off to you too, because no matter what, the common thread to cancer treatments is fatigue, and it's profound. So again, we honor everybody, any survivor, thriver, no matter what their diagnosis is. But some patients, I use the example of a head and neck cancer patient, or how about a lung cancer patient who is short-winded or can't stop coughing, or a rectal cancer patient or anal cancer patient who can't sit on their seats because they're in so much pain and they're so sore. These are different scenarios, but we just want to let you know that you have options as it relates to your work. Now, a lot of people think, working during your cancer treatments, why would you do that? That's so silly. Just kind of sit home and recover and concentrate on yourself. And that's all well and good if your last name is Rockefeller. But what if your last name is not Rockefeller? What if you actually have to work? What if you're a single parent? Just because you're a survivor thriver doesn't mean that you might be a millionaire or have, really a fantastic socioeconomic situation. You might be a single parent, a single mom, raising a bunch of kids, getting no child support. Just you are it. And if you stop working, the kids stop eating. So, this is more, it's deeper. I want it to be as deep as you guys need it to be, because I want to really not only just honor your quest to work during your treatments, but also let everybody recognize that sometimes you don't have a choice. And much respect, and my hat and Angel's hat are tipped to you. But some of the things you could do is, we will talk about changing from your full-time position to maybe a part-time position. There are accommodations that your workplace needs to adjust for you. You do have rights as a survivor not to be discriminated against because of your health. And you might just need to have, switch your office or your desk to one that's closer to the bathroom. Our prostate cancer patients come to mind, and our GYN patients who are constantly urinating or having frequent bowel movements, they might need to be placed closer to a bathroom. Also, your schedule could be changed. You could be given different tasks. You could take some extra days off or have a little bit of a creative input to your schedule. So there's tons of things that we can do to help you get through working again on this Labor Day special. We're going to be talking about who to tell at work, telling your supervisor, telling your coworkers. We're going to be giving you tips for working while you're getting your treatment. We're going to also tell you about some of the legal protections that you have for cancer patients that are working, and workplace discrimination, how to manage that, because sadly we're all human, and you would think that, everybody on earth would be sensitive to your plight, but that's not always true. So we're going to talk about that as well. So let's start as far as whether or not you can work during your treatments. And this is really important. And we talk about communication. We actually did sort of an unofficial module about communicating with your doctor, and your doctor appropriately communicating with you. And I think that that's a really important thing. Once you bond with your care team, and they get to know not only about your cancer, your breast cancer, your brain cancer, your lung cancer, but get to know you as a person, then you could actually have not a doctor to patient conversation, but a person to person conversation. Hey, doc, I really, I'm a single mom. I have two kids. I would love to not work, but guess what? I have to work. Let's talk about it. And then I would want that caregiver, that team member, the head of your crew, to sit down with you and spend time and say, okay, Mary, you have stage 1 breast cancer. Here's what your treatments are going to look like. You're going to have a medication that's going to make you feel like you have a virus, like your bones are going to hurt. You're going to get radiation, and your skin is going to get like a sunburn, and it's going to be uncomfortable. Or Terry, you have anal cancer. So when we treat you, though that very soft and sensitive tissue, on your bottom where you sit, is going to be very, very sensitive, and you may not be able to sit down for a full day. So you might want to ask for a standing desk, those types of recommendations. So your doctor, your care team, your nurse practitioner, your advanced practitioner, you need to have that conversation first because you can't go walking into your supervisor's office without the proper information. You can't go in and say, hey, I'm getting cancer treatments and I need help. And they're going to say, sure, we'll be glad to help you. Sometimes not because they want to, but they legally have to. But they have to have the information. So guess who gives you that information? Your best bud, your pal. It's your oncologist and your oncology nursing team. So please, that's step number one. You want to find out exactly what you can do, what you can't do, and what you're up against. We talked about the head and neck cancer patient. We know what they're up against because we just talked about it. Prostate cancer, lung cancer, colorectal cancer, brain cancer. We're going to be talking about this. Actually, we'll talk about it right now. Breast cancer, early breast cancer, fatigue, skin reaction, lung cancer, cough, shortness of breath, not being able to walk upstairs or up inclines. All of this may be challenging, along with all of the terrible feelings that you feel during chemotherapy. Also, when you get chemotherapy for any of these malignancies, your blood counts might drop. So you might need special accommodations. So you're not around sick people, or you might need a little distance. Or guess what? Say you work in that sort of that, what would you call it? That pen where all of the desks are together. You might need your own office, during your treatments when your blood counts are low. So those are special accommodations. GI, we mentioned rectal cancer. We talked about anal cancer. How about GYN cancer? So cervical cancer, endometrial cancer, urinary frequency, urgency, loose bowel movements, frequent bowel movements, unexpected or, bowel movements that you can't control. That goes for prostate cancer patients as well as all that urinary difficulty, urgency, frequency, hesitancy, getting up at night. You're not sleeping a full night, so you're always tired. Sarcomas are cancers usually of the muscles. So if you have a sarcoma of your arm and you're getting radiation and your arm's all burned up, or you have surgery and the surgery makes your arm function diminished, maybe only about 20% of your arm capacity compared to prior, and say you have a physical job, say you run one of those machines in a factory, or say you really use your hands, you're an artist, or you're a laborer, on a factory on a line, and you need to use your hands. You might not be able to do that anymore. If you have brain cancer, you might feel fuzzy. You might not have full, cognitive ability. You might, be prone to seizures. So these are all things that you have to think about and talk to your care team about in order to make your environment as safe as possible and as positive an experience that can be for you. You also have to talk about specific treatment plans. So exactly what your treatments are, how long they're going to be. We did a podcast a few weeks ago about adding those 2 days to that patient's schedule. Say she was in the workforce. She was already angry. So about the 2 extra days, what if the 2 extra days not only made her angry on the personal side, but say it was a big deal? Say then she had to go back to her boss, who wasn't super supportive anyway, and say, oh, remember I said I needed, 16 days. I actually need 18 days. If they're already mad at you, imagine that, just to make them even madder. So please, please, please talk to your team, know what you're in for. And again, the number one common thread, no matter what your malignancy is, remember we said that it doesn't matter if you're a stage 1 breast cancer or early stage prostate cancer patient. The bottom line is you're all going to be tired. So as I said, Angel and I, we go to work, we come home, we're exhausted, but we didn't just have cancer treatments. Okay. So God bless you guys. You guys are very special. You're very heroic. You're very, very tough, very tough. Also, we have to talk to your workplace itself to make sure that you have all the accommodations you need. Now, Angel, we're going to talk about telling your supervisor. So this is a very scary endeavor. Most everyone that I have ever spoken to over, my time in practice, and that's a long time, have always told me, I would say 80% of the time, that when their workplace found out that they had a problem, they came and they rallied. But 20% of the time, they don't rally. So you have to be prepared when you speak to your supervisor. You know how I feel about human resources these days. Not a fan. So, so I get it. So when you decide to talk about your cancer, you have to have a meeting with your supervisor. You want to explain to them that you want to continue to work while you're getting your treatment. You want to be honest about your treatment, the hours away from work that will be required, and you will always make sure you remind them that your situation might change and these are only estimates. You can't give them any concrete information. And believe me, I know how difficult that is. I have several employees. Um, you know, I've had to deal with 4 pregnancies, out of work for months and months and months, how to manage that, how to get extra help, how to, patch coverage together. I get it from the other side, but let me tell you something. Supporting people in their life transitions is huge. It's actually a pleasure. Like, to be honest with you, even though it was an inconvenience, it was a pleasure to help my nurse practitioners when they were out for their maternity leave. So even more importantly is helping these cancer survivors, in the workplace. So that's really important when you have this meeting. You also have to use realistic expectations. Do not try to don't try to spin things positive, let them hear things they want to hear. Be straight up, be transparent, and tell them, everything to the best of your ability. And you have to tell them if it's okay with them to share that information with other coworkers, because they are required to keep your confidence if that's what you want. Speaking of coworkers, Angel is my coworker, but we have many coworkers who work in our medical system. How open do you want to be with your coworkers about your cancer is a personal decision. If you have family members trying to push you to tell them or push you not to tell them, what you need to do is push them away, because you know what? You know whose decision it is? It is your decision. It is not their decision. You can base your comfort level with sharing information with your coworkers on your relationships with them. You all know that you might have, really good relations with your coworkers. Angel has a coworker named Nick. He's on our board. He's like the freaking greatest guy in the world. Angel and he share many, many things on the personal level, and I've shared things with Nick on a personal level. And he felt very comfortable doing it because he's not just a coworker, he's a friend. But not everybody is Nick. So, you might want to selectively talk to some people, maybe not talk to others. But if it does get out in the office, it's really up to you on how you manage that. So that is completely up to you. You should not be pressured, as I said. You don't have to explain yourself if you don't feel comfortable. Only you could decide what's best for you. Some of your coworkers, believe it or not, Angel, will react with understanding, which we know. Some will actually offer help. They might offer to make meals for you, babysit the kids, give you a night to go to sleep early, cover one of your shifts. Angel's in the business of 24/7. So, the people the moles down in the basement down at Garnet, there can't be someone not showing and then just like leaving that post open. It's like you need a sentry. You need to have that guard. Angel and Nick, they're the heartbeat of the institution. So sometimes I've seen Angel do 24-hour shifts because someone was sick and he had to stay and help them. If it's a cancer survivor, I would hope that Angel would, despite being fatigued and absolutely overwhelmed with the extra work, I'm sure, knowing what an amazing man and what a good Christian he is, I'm sure he would understand. But there might be other people who would not be as understanding, and that's that's understandable. I'm using the word understand 3 times in a sentence. I guess that's wrong, but we make things up here. We don't follow the rules of grammar. So I want to let you guys know and be ready for the fact that some patients, some coworkers might be intrusive. They might be asking you questions that are uncomfortable for you. Some might want to avoid you. Some might feel that cancer is a communicable or infectious disease. So I just want you guys to be prepared for that. So let's give you some tips for working while you're getting your treatment. So as I said, it's important to figure out how you will continue to work, and you want these tips to help guide you. If you find that you need time to recover after your treatment, plan your treatments around your needs. For example, you might want to get a treatment late in the day or right before the weekend to allow your time to recover. You have to explore your options. Like, you might be able to work from home. You might be able to work from home entirely, or maybe even if you took 2 days out of the week to work at home, that's 40% of the week where you could just walk around in your pajamas and your bunny slippers, and you could feel crappy, and you don't have to look beautiful, and you don't have to put on makeup, or you don't have to put on your suit, and you could put on a pair of shorts and a sports jersey and just kind of rock your meetings and do your work at your own pace. Your pace might be slower. So say an 8-hour workday might take you 12 hours, but you're doing it at your own pace, which is fantastic. Some people may need help at home. You might need to try to engage some family members to help you with the children, or help clean or help cook. Certain daily chores may be divided, as I said, between your family and your friends. You might even want to let coworkers know about your situation if you feel it's right. They can be great sources of support. As I said, Nick and Angel would do anything for a coworker. They may even be able to come up with some creative ideas on how to better manage your workday. Keep your supervisor and coworkers up to date on how you're doing, how your schedule is, if there's any changes. So to be fair to them, again, you want to be completely dealing at all times in good faith. You need to make a detailed list of your job duties. So if you do miss a day, it's continuity. You want to sign out. So so Allison finished her week today. She worked Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Louise comes in tomorrow. Allison's job is to make sure that when Louise comes in tomorrow, she takes over any open issues that has been left behind, from Allison. So same thing with you guys. You have to make sure that you're signing out to people in case, you have to take an unexpected day off. And don't be afraid to ask for help if you need it. Don't be a martyr. This is very crucial time for you. You're undergoing your treatments to get your cancer cure. Please don't be proud. Angel, there are also legal protections for our cancer survivor thrivers when they're in the workforce. So you have the same rights, everybody, as anyone else in the workplace, and should be given equal opportunity, regardless of whether or not you tell people at work about your cancer. Whether you're being hired, whether you're being promoted or not promoted, or how you're treated in the workplace should depend entirely on your abilities and your qualifications. As long as you're able to fulfill your job duties, you can't legally be fired for being sick. You should also not have to accept a position you would have never considered before your illness. There's a lot of laws out there to protect you guys. You have federal laws like the Rehabilitation Act, you have the Americans with Disabilities Act, and you have the Family and Medical Leave Act. Make sure you know about these. You don't have to memorize them. You don't have to know everything about them. You don't have to be a legal scholar, but please know that there are things in place to help you. You also have to, again, getting back to these accommodations, an employer must accommodate a qualified applicant or employee with disabilities. So you have to make sure that they provide you with modified equipment or devices. They have to restructure your job if necessary. They have to offer a part-time or modified work schedule for you. Permission to work from home if possible. They have to offer reasonable breaks for rest or to take your medications. They have to adjust the office temperature or thermometer because you might be freezing cold because you're anemic or whatever. You have the right to have an environment which you're comfortable in. You have the right to be reassigned to a vacant position or assigned to an employee be assigned different tasks if you are no longer able to do that task. You have to have adjustments in modifying your training materials and your policy adherence. You have to be given readers, interpreters if you need them, if you have brain cancer and you can't really process the information like you used to. You have to have a workplace that's accessible and usable with your disability. And you have to have a vocational rehabilitation counselor to help you with some of your job related questions. So you need to have a liaison, you have to have an advocate. And lastly, you do not have to endure workplace discrimination just because you're sick, because you have cancer and you're getting your cancer treatments. Even though the public's understanding of cancer is getting better, sometimes prejudices and fears are found in the workplace. You may talk with your human resources department. If you're worried, you might face work discrimination. If your workplace has a union, even better, please seek out your representative. Angel, I think that's about it for today. I wanted to keep it short and sweet. I wanted to really give honor on both of our behalfs and on behalf of the board to our cancer survivors who are getting their active treatments, who decide to stay working. I think that was a really good, I would think, quick, but I think impactful primer on working through these treatments. Your thoughts?
I would think so. I think that when I hear everything we just heard, what one word came to mind was environment. And I've said this many times, maybe even on this show, being out there and knowing your environment is key. And I've always used this analogy of try to not be a thermometer, be a thermostat and control your environment. In our environment, the world that we live in and we work at is a mirror of our attitudes and expectations. So allow yourself to be strong, to keep your strength, because at this point, you have overcome so many things, or are starting to, that don't allow the distractions and others to bring you down. Because in reality, some don't even know how to deal with news or updates, just like Dr. E said. But even despite all those things, always know that you're important and that you will be heard.
Angel Santana, thank you very much for your comments. I want to take this moment again to not only honor our cancer survivor thrivers as a group, but specifically the group of survivor thrivers who are working during their treatments. This is our Labor Day weekend. We get this Monday off on the shoulders of giants for the people in the past who have not had any representation, who have been taken advantage of, who have had worked in the factories and received poor compensation under poor facilities and poor safety situations. And we now have a day that's devoted to the workforce. And our podcast is to advocate for you guys, to make sure that not only are we advocating for you in general, but also for advocating for your rights in the workplace, if that's what you choose to do. So ending this podcast today, I want to just, on behalf of the board, wish you guys a wonderful Labor Day. You deserve it. We certainly appreciate your heroic efforts, your bravery, your sacrifice, your tenacity, your strength, everything associated with you guys, your intelligence, and you are worthy and you are loved and you are just wonderful. We will end this podcast as we end each podcast with our CROC prayer, wishing each and every one of you a long, healthy, happy, and cancer-free life. God bless you. God be with you. Enjoy your Labor Day. Eat some hot dogs. Peace.
Hey, CROC Nation. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the podcast to your friends. Visit our website, crocvip.com. We would love to hear your feedback.